The jungle in version 42 is quite different, and so are the cards and gems. If you are in any way interested in knowing about either cards or gems for the jungle, this is the video for you. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a version 42 guide. I am Sylphin. Really, in the gem department, there's only two gems that you really gotta know about, maybe a third one. The first one is the agility slot 1 gem. It's called Jungle Assassin. This is just your scythe. Basic attacks deal 4.3 bonus damage to jungle minions. Remember that you do hit faster, so while it used to be 15 bonus damage, the 4.3 doesn't end up being too terrible of a DPS loss for the scythe, which is now a jungle assassin. The next one is in the vitality slot 1, and that is jungle lifesteal. This is just basically your Sylphin. Now, minions do a little bit less damage in my opinion, and really, because of your increased attack speed, the jungle lifesteal is more than enough on pretty much any hero to keep you alive. So basic attacks restore 2.5 health against jungle minions. Remember, they deal less damage. You have more basic armor, and you attack faster. So those are really the only two gems you should know. If you do care about the kind of a slot 7 pseudo jungle card or a gem, it is this one, the fast travel slot 2 or slot 7 in the agility attribute. Fast travel, gain 24.6 max movement speed while out of combat. Just kind of helps you get around the jungle and just kind of rotate across the map and kind of do your thing. Now, while this may not be a jungle specific card, I'm going to recommend it now because vision is super important in version 42. Award. Yeah, yes, it is order, but for only 300 gold, you get 2 shadow wards. As a jungler, you're going to be able to go all over the map. So you know what? I really recommend this card. This is a bit of an odd one, but it does work. 1 agility is called the Demolitionist card. Basically deal 12 bonus damage to non-hero units and structures, so minions, stuff like that, and jungle minions. Bonus damage is reduced to 8, though if the attack is ranged. Most junglers are melee, so that's basically just 12 flat bonus damage. That is a ton in version 42, as it's more about base damage and attack speed. Now, for early game sustain and maybe a little bit of tankiness, this could work. Living Guardian for 1 vitality, fortifying strikes. Basic attack hits grant a stack of 2 basic armor. If I can stack up to 10 times for 10 seconds. Basically, you know, with this card, you may be able to mitigate a ton of damage in the jungle. And of course, when you're ganking, especially if you're Chimera with the Q, he attacks really fast now. It's kind of silly. So getting those stacks really isn't that difficult. Another kind of strange one, but could work, is Poised Aggressor for 1 agility, which could get your scythe as well, or other jungle gems. Initiate. Gain 15 basic damage. Again, that's 50. That's damage. That is a good amount for 4 seconds after entering combat. So each time you enter combat at each jungle camp, you get 15 more damage for 4 seconds. So Chimera's Q and other things like that will help. Plus, it will help in ganks as well, which is exactly what you want. Now, if you're looking for a objective equivalent to blood-soaked armor for raptors and stuff like that, Flame of Zechen is that card. For 2,000 gold, basically you deal 500 true damage to neutral or enemy minions. Damage increases by 150 with each use. I'm pretty sure this applies on the green buff, on raptors, and maybe even Orb Prime. I'm pretty sure. If it doesn't, though, not that big of a deal, as still there are other uses for this card. Now, here is the first real jungle card, because the passive is literally called Jungle Restoration. For 1 agility, 1 vitality, incredibly easy to get. It's called the Mother Tree. You gain 4 health regen and the passive of 1.5 mana regen and 2.2 health regen when in the jungle. Now, one big tip right off the bat for your jungle decks is that you have to be careful with what gems you have and what cards you have. It is possible to get too much sustain, where you you could have gone for more damage. You could have gone for other damage cards, stuff like that. So while yes, this is a 1 agility and 1 vitality card, you still have to get that 1,000 gold in order to get the other 1 point of attribute to get this card. So it will take some testing to kind of be like, what sustain do I need and for how long, and what could I get in its place, or do I tough it out and have a rough first 1,000 gold and then it becomes much easier. Really, it's all up to you, but this is an absolute must-have to consider in your jungle deck. Another must-have consideration here is Green Spring. For 3 vitality, you're 20 basic armor, so maybe you're trying to be a little bit more of a sustain brawler jungler. You get regenerative rest, 8.4 health regen while out of combat. So while you're traveling in between the camps or you're on your way to a gank, you can make sure that, boom, you have good health regen and that you are topped up, ready for that gank. As a role that does a lot of running around the map, Nitro Boost may be a consideration. For 3 agility, you gain 11 attack speed, so there is some DPS, but you get the sprint active. Gain 125 max movement speed for 3 seconds, costing 0 mana on a 12 freaking second cooldown. That's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Nitro Boost, it is absolutely a consideration, especially if you're not somebody like not like Chimera, who, well, it just has his leap, stuff like that. If you're one of the other kind of junglers that you're using, Nitro Boost, consider it. That 11 attack speed as well goes farther than you think. This one may be a bit strange, but if you are a knowledge base hero that you are playing in the jungle, yes, it is absolutely possible now. You can get Pack Leader. It gets 8 power for a 3 attribute cost card, and that's really good. 8 power goes a long way. Version 42, remember, is completely different, and that 8 power is very strong. Plus, you mark an enemy. Nearby allied minions will attack that target for 30 seconds. Why is that important? Because when you can gank, every 50 seconds you spend 60 mana so that your allied minions also help you with that gank. They can, you know, they will just crowd them, maybe body block them. Obviously, the damage is monstrous in the early game. They hurt much more now. This is a consideration. That 8 power will go a very long way, especially if you are a knowledge-based hero, because you scale with that power really well. Now, if you didn't like the sprint active before, Sand Speeder is basically travel mode, but in Monolith. 3 agility, you gain 11 attack speed, so same as before, but you gain increased max movement speed by 8% instead. However, when you are attacked or you do attack, that 8% is reduced to 4%. So you always have a 4% increased movement speed, but sometimes you get 8. So depending on how much you want to rotate and how much you value movement speed, Sand Speeder is a consideration. Protective Sentry is another vision card I just simply have to recommend no matter what. 2 vitality and 2 knowledge, meaning somebody that is a little bit ability focused in the jungle, Severog, can get some mana regen and some shadow wards that also grant armor. So every 65 seconds you can put down a shadow ward that will last there, you know, for some time. 50 mana, pretty good. It's an option I have to recommend. Now here's a card I thoroughly enjoyed on Jungle Richter. 2 vitality, 4 knowledge. Again, that power is there, 10 power, 1 mana regen. But when you were ganking, you can target an enemy hero to reduce their attack speed by 30 and movement speed by 100 for 2.5 seconds. In addition, though, it reveals all enemy heroes on the map for 6 seconds. So you can know if you can really commit to that gank, if you can kind of dive them and stuff like that. And it obviously reduced their attack speed, so especially on the carry, you can be like, nah, you're just kind of dead. And obviously the movement speed for 2.5 seconds. It works really well. That power goes a long way. Tyrant is an absolutely mandatory jungle card because it has 2 passives with jungle in their names. 3 agility, 3 vitality, 15 power, and 2 passives. After 50 jungle minion kills, gain 200 max health. That's tremendous. But an uncapped passive of gain 0.4 power for every jungle minion killed. That's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. this can skyrocket to 40, 80 power. It's absolutely incredible. If you can get away with it, which you pretty much should, this is absolutely a mandatory jungle card. Now another pretty much mandatory jungle card here is Veil Stepper. We've all heard of this they've been teasing it for quite some time. 4 agility, 2 vitality, to gain 8 health regen and 18 basic armor. Smokescreen. Enter Shadow Plane for 3 seconds, which in version 42 feels like eternity after passing through a fog wall. 5-second internal cooldown, so you can't just kind of keep going back and forth. You have to spend 2 seconds out of the Shadow Plane before re-engaging. So it's obvious how powerful this is for junglers. The rotations and ganking is ridiculous. Even for mid laners, this is absolutely amazing. So Veil Stepper, you just gotta try it, man. Gotta try it. Now, the next cards are kind of starting to get into the mid and late game, and depending on what kind of jungler you're playing with what attributes and stuff like that, it's kind of just whatever you want, really. The cards I'm going to recommend now are just maybe some good ones that still focus on ganking, on rotating, and kind of just being that frontline force that kind of comes out of nowhere and either does a lot of damage or is just that bruiser brawler. So Arcane Dancer, 7 vitality. Usually your junglers you're gonna build with a good amount of health and tankiness, 10 power and 205 health. Reduce ability damage taken by 85% for the next 6 seconds. So when you're ganking, boom, especially if it's a caster or a Zinx or something like that can do good ability damage, boom, there is that to mitigate that. Another good ganking one here is Crippling Glare. 14 attack speed, 24 basic armor, so you're definitely maybe you deal some damage, but you are tanky as well. But Hamstring active, reduce enemy move speed by 80%, and effect fades over 4 seconds. So 40-second cooldown, 75 mana. When you do gank, boom, movement speed is reduced by 80%, and it slowly fades over 4 seconds. Great ganking card. If you're willing to spend those attribute points, there you go. Now this one may be a little bit odd, but think about it. Swift Hunter for 7 agility, 10 power, 15 attack speed, gain 125 movement speed for 10 seconds. That's a long time after killing an enemy unit. When you gank, take 1 swing at a low health minion, kill the minion, and boom, there's 125 movement speed for 10 freaking seconds. It's basically just a damage card. If you're a damage, kind of assassin-y sort of jungler, maybe this is the card for you to really secure those ganks. Now, again, these cards are starting to become not necessarily jungle-related, but very loosely related on the gameplay that the jungle kind of dictates. Coercing Zephyr here is a little bit of a brawler card, attack speed and basic armor, but purify yourself from any stuns or roots or stuff like that and gain 250 move speed for 1.5 seconds. Every 90 seconds, so basically whenever you're ganking, you can use this card to make sure, again, that you stay on your target and, well, help with that gank. This one's a bit of a stretch, but it is possible. Echelon Soldier here, 12 power, 265 health, exactly what you want as a jungler, brawler, bruiser. Enter the Shadow Plane for as long as you're stationary after 2 seconds. Build up 40 ability damage per second up to 400 ability damage that is dealt to nearby allies as nearby enemies as an explosion when you end this effect. So, river buffs. If you see that they're going to start, you can get there 12 seconds early, sit there, and when the enemy tries to come close, boom, you move, you get the buff, you damage the enemy. Exactly what you want. For Raptors, for Orb Prime, you can maybe get there a little bit early and just stand there and just kind of build up this damage, and boom. Of all the people that can use this and get somewhere early or just be there, you know, necessarily for a rotation that the enemy is trying to do, the jungler is it. A very common jungle card was Thunder Cleaver in previous version 42, and well, Thunder Cleaver, it's right here. Literally Thunder Cleaver. 17 power, 22 basic armor, perfect for a little bit of a brawler bruiser, increased cleave damage by 50%, and the active is the same deal, 100% 10% basic attack damage to nearby enemy units, 50 mana, 30-second cooldown. Again, if you just want it, if you need it, if you like it, if you're a little bit bursty, boom, here it is. Another good utility brawler bruiser card here is Vengeful Mire. 300 health, 25 basic armor, and apply a 100 movement speed slow to nearby enemies after taking 300 damage. Rotating, being that frontline menace, you can slow down nearby enemies after taking damage. I like it. Good tank card here for anybody you want to play a little bit tanky. Now, a fantastic card for anybody you want to put into the Shadow Plane for a bit. This is it. Shadow Dancer. 14 power, 24 basic armor, and the active here. Enter the Shadow Plane and gain 50 movement speed for 15 seconds. Attacking an enemy from the Shadow Plane applies a 400 movement speed slow for 1 second. 75 mana and 35-second cooldown. So, pretty ridiculous. Like, you can go into Shadow Plane so often, gain a little bit of movement speed, even just get that movement speed if you want, and of course gank tremendously well. So Shadow Dancer, absolutely recommended for every single jungle, or just anybody really. And that is about it for the cards that I can recommend for the jungle affinity, for the jungle role. There's many more cards, many more high cost cards that are just fantastic on your hero or scenario, regardless of what role you are. So really, it's kind of up to you to see what these other gigantic cost cards are, and if they work with your hero and what kind of gameplay you're looking for, and what just your team needs of you. So that is about it for the jungle role. Obviously, some of those are very jungle specific, and others are just great in theory. And you know what? It's all up to you to see if those cards can be used in that way, and if you can actually pull it off. Let me know down in the comments if there's any other cards here that you would recommend, any that I've kind of looked past. There's going to be tons, guys, that could certainly work, and you know what? That's maybe the great thing about version 42. So let me know down in the comments if there's any other cards that you would suggest for the jungler. Please like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, share it with the community, and of course, guys, subscribe. You guys like this content, especially if you found it useful. Please subscribe so I can do it for you in the future. If you would like to support me on a regular basis, please head on over to my Patreon account where you can make a pledge to help me do what I love. Till next time, like always, guys, stay optimistic and positive.